Welcome everyone to another NLP Insider live show, and thank you so much for joining us today. We are here live every other week for 15 minutes to talk about everything NLP with industry leaders. Today I'm excited to chat with Adnan Khalid, Unit Head of Data Science at HBL Microfinance Bank. Adnan has developed and deployed many data science solutions at large organizations, including NLP-based models, supply chain solutions, credit scorecards, and chatbots. Today, he'll tell us more about using social media data for credit scoring. Welcome, Adnan. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, David. I'm happy to be here and share my learnings with your audience.
Thank you for joining. So let's jump right in. So you have quite a few years of senior level data science experience in banking, in retail, in consultancy industries. Can you tell us a bit more about your data science journey and how you got here?
Sure. So I started off my career in early 2000s in consumer banking and consumer risk analytics. So data science at that time was not a very common profession, but risk analytics is probably the closest you could get to data science at that time. Uh, we use tools like SAS, Cognos, SPSS. So R and Python and TensorFlow, all these technologies were not there at that time. But it was at that time I heard about neural networks and that some of the banks were using neural networks for credit scoring. So I got curious about that. And then in 2011, I think Coursera came in, and that provided me an opportunity to enhance my skill set. So I started learning about machine learning, Python, R, and I enhanced my skill set. And then I joined data science organizations, and then I started my own consultancy company. I work with large retail and financial organizations, and my journey is moving from a non-tech, non-software engineering to into data science. So my education was in undergrad in economics and masters in business and information system. But I was comfortable with programming since my school days. But I was not a pure software engineer uh, early in my career. So it's movement from non-software engineering to into data science. So that's something I recommend other domain experts to actually move into this field.
So build expertise in an industry domain and move to be a data scientist in that area?
Exactly that I see that as an advantage, and it's easier than ever to pick up the technology with programming languages like Python. It's very easy to pick, and technologies like TensorFlow, it's very easy to deploy your solution using Docker. So technology nowadays is very accessible and fairly easier than what it was like a decade ago.
Yeah, I agree with that, definitely. So nowadays you're working on microfinance and microloans. Can you tell us a bit about the kind of just what is it that your company provides in terms of just microloans in Pakistan and that area? Who are the users? How do you help them?
Okay, so microloan is meant for the very poor segment of the society. So uh, at PL Microfinance, I have developed two scorecards. One is for microloan and other one is for nano loan. So
Mm-hmm.
for microloan, the audience is the very poor people in rural areas, and the purpose of loan is not for consumption but to help them start a business. So there's a scorecard. It's a totally digitized system, and there's a scorecard for that. And for nano loan, it's a totally digitized system with no brick and mortar involved, no human involved. And the audience for that is very diverse. That it can be uh, people from upper class, middle class, low class, and anyone, anybody using a Android phone, a mobile app, uh, and uh, nano loan is up to $100. It's meant for emergency credit
Yeah.
for if you run out of cash and you're in an emergency or something.
Okay.
But
Interesting.
some people also use it as a running finance. If a fruit seller might need nano loan to buy inventory, there are a lot of people that who use it as even as a running finance. So we have a totally digitized solution for that, and there's a scorecard for that, which is actually working really well. So on top of that, I'm building this NLP solution that I will talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting. Yes, because you're working in a fully digital way. You say no human in the loop system with people who are, yeah, where there's not a lot of digital footprint. So let's say you're working on solutions to use textual data from social media posts to predict personality traits and generate credit scores. So what is the scope of using NLP and social media for credit scoring?
Okay, so uh, let's start with the future of banking. The future of banking is going to be digital. So brick and mortar banks are going to reduce their footprint, and digital banks are going to take their market share. And there's a general consensus in the digital banking industry that the future of lending will be through psychometric scorecards and big data. And NLP and social media is one such form of psychometric. There are other ways of psychometric scoring as well, but NLP is one. And if you look at credit risk, it's divided into two broad categories. One is your ability to pay your loan back, and other one is your willingness to pay your loan back. So your willingness is based entirely on your personality. Uh, that's 100% dependent on your personality. If you are a willful defaulter or a fraudster, that has to do with your personality. And your ability to pay back is partially dependent on your personality. There may be factors that are exogenous, but it also depends on your personality. For example, some people may be impulsive buyers,
Mhm.
and they may be bad financial manager, bad at managing their personal finances. That's a personality trait. Some people might be risk takers and they might over leverage themselves. And once you over leverage themselves, the chances of a default is higher. So there are some personality traits that also affect your ability to pay your loan back. Next, if you look at social media and NLP, it's already possible to predict your personality using tweets. There are a lot of research papers. There are a lot of open data sets, which I will talk about in my upcoming talk. And uh, it, uh, the state of art is that you can actually predict a person's personality using social media. For example, the Myers-Briggs personality, or any, and you can use uh, your own personality scorecard. So the result of that is if you have a good NLP based scorecard, it's going to actually transform the industry. It's going to lower the operating cost and it's going to lower the prices for consumers.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the movement of industry from brick and mortar to digital is will be driven by the initiatives like these.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So what are the what is the main challenge you face when when you use this kind of data from social media posts?
Yeah. So one major challenge that that caught my attention is that although it's possible to predict personality with your social media posts like tweets, it actually requires a lot of data. For example, there is a research paper by IBM. It's titled 25 tweets to know you. It's published by IBM in 2017, and they say that their algorithm requires one one eighth the times less data than the traditional algorithm, and one eighth the time is 25 tweets. So that's actually a lot of tweets.
Yeah.
So if you look at if a bank is going to look at the target audience, a fraction of that audience would be using Twitter. And if you look at how many of those uh, have 25 plus tweets, that's going to be even less. So
Yeah.
it's going to reduce the impact. And another way is and another challenge is the time it takes to run these kind of experiments. So, for example, with traditional banking products like credit card or personal loan, usually the default peaks after 3 years. So, if you take a credit card now or personal loan now, you will not default next 1 or 2 months. It will take you a long time. So it usually takes 6 to 12 months to run these kind of experiments. And with the nano loan product that I talked about, one advantage is that time to run these experiments is very little, because the tenure is 1 month and you can quickly run iterative different experiments.
Mhm. Yeah, that's
So the,
definitely an advantage. Yep.
yeah.
Yep. So, which data science techniques or trend you see as the most relevant for analyzing social media data for credit scoring?
Okay. So one is you are going to
Adnan? Yep. Adnan, I cannot hear you. There seems to be a connection issue. Let's wait a minute and see if we can reconnect. Everyone, let's give Adnan another minute to see if he can join back. I was looking forward to this answer around the data science techniques that are being used today. Okay, we do seem to have connection issues. Unfortunately, this happens sometimes in live shows, especially with international connections. The good news is that Adnan will present a pre-recorded, vetted video of his talk with more technical details at the NLP Summit 22, which is coming up on, and this talk specifically on the third day, on October 6th, which is a day focused on finance. The NLP Summit itself, it's a free event. It's virtual. We already have several thousand people joining, so please sign up as well. We'll share the link here, and then you can hear more about Adnan's work and really an interesting problem, right? About how you try to evaluate kind of credit worthiness over people who, for which really there's little or no other digital data available. So I'd like to thank Adnan for the time for joining us, and thank you all for joining us today. It was a pleasure learning, learning what we could about the challenge and what you're doing to solve it. Everyone, thank you as well for joining. As I mentioned, you'll be able to hear more from Adnan at the upcoming NLP Summit. So I hope to see you there. Thank you.